Hello everybody, this is Melissa at Food Bloggers of Canada, and today we are sharing our very first video tutorial for you all, and it's going to be a really simple, quick one, but we thought we would show you all how to make a simple watermark in Lightroom for your images. This is a question we actually get asked all the time, and people seem to think that it's difficult or that it actually can't be done in Lightroom, but it can, and it's very simple and very quick. So we are going to run you through it right now. The first thing you want to do is be in your Develop module in Lightroom where you do all of your editing and choose the photo that you're ready to watermark. So we're going to go with this one. This actually hasn't been edited at all, but we're going to do a quick export of it, and that's where you add the watermark. So to export a photo, you're going to use your Command-Shift-E on the Mac or Control-Shift-E on your PC. And that's going to bring up your export window for your image. And there's a lot of different options here that we're not going to go through today, but the one that we are really interested in is the watermarking option. And the first thing you need to do to make sure that this works is you need to make sure that watermark is actually checked off. Once you do that, you can select from the watermarks that you've created, and I'm going to show you how to create one right now, what that you would like to have on the photo. So I actually have several set up depending on the type of photo. For photos with a very dark background, I have some that are done with a white font so that they show up nicely. So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to choose Edit Watermarks, and this is where we can create a new watermark for this image. And that brings up the Watermark Editor window. There's lots of different pieces to this, but it's really simple to just get up and going. The first thing you want to do is in this box here, you're going to type whatever you want your watermark to be. So this is one that I created earlier, but I'm going to change it to just my full name, which is what I usually use when I'm watermarking. And as you can see, it changes as I type, so you can see all your changes in real time. The next thing you can do is you can choose whether you want it to be a text or a graphic watermark. So we're just going to do a basic text watermark today, but you do have the ability to import a graphic. So if you have a logo for your blog, you can import that and use that as your watermark. So because we're not doing a graphic, we're going to ignore the image options and we're going to go straight to the text options. So for this watermark, I had chosen Blanche, but I'm actually going to change that. If you click on the arrows here, your text windows, font windows come up, and I'm going to go with Century Gothic, which is the font that I use for my business. So that's usually what I use for my watermarking. You also can choose the style, so if your font comes in more font weights than just one, you will have the option to choose the one that you'd like to use. And you can choose whether you want to align it left, right, or center, and I chose to the right. Here's your color picker. So this is really useful because if you have an image with a dark background like this one, you're not going to want to use a dark font. It's not going to show up. So this is where you can choose to use a lighter font or go crazy and use red or purple or whatever you like. You just click on this box and it brings up your font picker. Here's all the basic ones listed here, but there's also sliders and palettes where you can get a little more detailed if you want to customize your colors. I'm just going to stick with basic white here. You also have the option to add a shadow, a drop shadow, and these are all the sliders that you'll use for that, and you can do that and see it all in real time if you'd like to. I don't generally play with it too much. The next one that you will want to probably pay some attention to is the opacity slider. This is what makes your watermark really dark or really light, and that can be really useful if you don't want your watermark to overtake the image. So if we were to put this up to 100, you can see that is just, wow, a watermark in your face, which we don't really want. So I like to set the opacity down around 20 to 30, somewhere in there, so we'll stick with 25 here. You also have the option to change the size, which can be really useful. For most of us probably want something fairly small for our blog. We don't want it to overtake the image, especially if you're using other text in the image to, say what the recipe is or something like that. But if you are sending proofs to a client, often you might want to make this actually quite large so that it sits on top of the image and the image can't be used for print. But I'm just going to stick with something nice and small. You also have the ability to change the anchor point for your watermark. So if you want it to be in the center of the image, you can click that, or in the top left corner, you can move it around. I prefer bottom left, or bottom right, sorry, that's just me. And you can also rotate it, which can also be really handy if your image is very busy in the corner that you usually put it in, and you don't want the watermark to interfere with some text that's maybe on packaging or something like that. So you can rotate it. I'm just going to leave it as is there. And you also can change the inset. So the horizontal, I can make this go closer to the edge or further in. I like it quite close to the edge. Same with the vertical, I can raise it or lower it a little bit. So you do have some really fine control over it. Once you're done and you have it the way you like, you're going to go up here, and I am going to save it as a new preset because I don't want to overwrite the original one that I edited. So I'm just going to save it as a new preset, and I'm just going to call it Melissa Test. Click the Create button, and then when you're done, you click the Done button, and you're all good to go. And then it's really as simple as just hitting the Export button, and your image will be exported as a JPEG, if you've selected that, with your watermark in place. It's really easy to do. You've just created a nice little watermark that you can add with a checkbox. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. We'll talk to you all soon.